Hey everybody, it's Jamie Jones, CEO of J Fit Health and Wellness with Nutrition by Jay. So I know I haven't been on in a couple of days, but I will say that today was a day. My body is fighting itself. So with lupus, we get the pains, the joint pains, and we get the exhaustion. And so that's what I'm feeling today. But I still want to continue on this journey of understanding me, what I live with, what I have gone through. So we talked about the epilepsy. And so when I first got diagnosed with the epilepsy, it was considered petit mal seizures. And then it moved to they were saying that, okay, I had breakthrough seizures, but once I got older, out of school, out of high school, out of college, all those things, they had to reclassify me. And so it is now considered generalized seizures. And so my seizures don't cause me to have convulsions or anything like that. But I do have a loss of memory. I may black out. I may, forget what has happened and then come back to as if nothing ever happened. And that is what I will say probably happened with the car accident. And so my life since I was 4 has been, dealing with taking medications and sharing my story with people. But then, in 2008, on Halloween 2008, I never forget it, I got diagnosed with lupus, systemic lupus. I was having joint pains and I couldn't figure out why. At first, they were saying I had Sjogren's syndrome, which Sjogren's does mimic lupus in many ways. But for me, it was, it was just something that I was like, it's probably more my mother, because she was still alive and she was a nurse and she was thriving and she researched a lot. So she was like, Jamie, I don't know. We can't just take the opinion of one to say it's just Sjogren's. She said, something just doesn't seem right. So I got a second opinion, because my mother, when I tell you, was a great nurse, a great medical professional, and she encouraged me. She was like, no, get a second opinion, because without a second opinion, you're just going to go on the word of one doctor, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And so I will express to everybody, always, always, always get a second opinion, because that second opinion could be vastly different from what the first doctor was saying. Was it that the first doctor didn't know? We don't know. Was it that the first doctor was just trying to get you out of his office so he could go to the next patient? We don't know. But always, always, always get a second opinion. And that's what I did. And when I did go get a second opinion, the battery of tests that had to be done, the anti-nuclear strand, ANA, the CBC chem panel, all these things, all the blood work, taking a urine sample, all these things had to be done. But the one thing to definitely tell me that I had lupus was I had to get a biopsy, a skin biopsy. And they took it out of my arm. They took a piece of skin out of my arm and they tested it. And it then came back that, yes, I did in fact have lupus, which is what my mother definitely said, that she believes that I had lupus. So I got diagnosed with lupus on Halloween 2008 for 4 years. So from 2004 to 2008, my mother kept saying, I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. We got to go get a second opinion. I pushed it off. Not a problem. I finally said, you know what? I'll get a second opinion. Me getting that second opinion did help. But it probably was, very late in the game. And I say it was very late because I could have been on medication for lupus since 2004. It could have, kept me from being hospitalized with, I had fevers. My body was just in such pain that, I should have been on medication for 4 years prior. But I'm thankful and grateful that we found out when we did and we could do something about it. And so the lupus, yes, I was hospitalized. I was on medications. I was on steroids. I was on prednisone. And if anybody knows anything about prednisone, baby, you know that prednisone adds the weight to you. So you talking about somebody, who was, I'm not going to say I was small in frame, but to have gained like 50 pounds alone just by being on prednisone, it was a problem. It was just like, what is going on? And so finally, my then rheumatologist was like, we're going to have to wean you off of this prednisone. Because a part of my problem with me being on the steroid for lupus was that it led to me becoming a type 1 diabetic. Yes. So my diabetes, although steroid induced, has me, taking insulin daily. And there are going to be people, I know everybody is like, oh, you can turn it around. You can do this. If you talk to anyone who's type 1, we have accepted and come to grips with our lives and what we need to do. We share our story. So there probably is something, maybe getting, a pancreas transplant. But I know that costs money that I don't have. But I'm okay because my story can help someone, and can help anybody else. And so that's what it is. And so my rheumatologist at the time was like, nope, we're going to take you off of prednisone. Although they took me off the prednisone, but they had to figure out what medical therapy could I do to sustain life. And that's where I decided I needed to do something with regards to working out more, eating habits. How am I going to function? How am I going to live a healthy lifestyle? And so it allowed me to grow with my illness. And yes, I say grow with my illness because I have grown. There was a time when I had epilepsy, I didn't want to share that I had epilepsy. And now I don't mind talking about it. I'm an advocate. I do epilepsy walks. I do lupus walks. I do the diabetes walks. I want to share my story because I could help someone else. Even individuals that are living with illnesses or, I live with what they consider autoimmune illnesses. So my system is immunocompromised. So I have to be very careful. So when I went to the emergency room the other day, and I'm sure people are like, oh my gosh, she just went to the emergency room. And when I explained why I went to the emergency room, it was really precautionary for myself. Because no one can be a better advocate for me than myself. And so I needed to know and understand because my urine was like a pinkish orange. And I know y'all might say TMI, but this is me telling my story. This is me sharing me. And and of course, I have a new rheumatologist now, and her concern is that my kidneys are starting to be affected by my lupus. So I have to take precautionary measures all the time. I have to think about, because I have a daughter. And I'm the only one that she depends on right now. And I have to be my best. And I teach her at the same time that I am, talking to you all and sharing my story with you. She knows what medications I'm on, where to find them. She knows what to describe if she has to call for emergencies, the whole nine. And there are some people that I do know that will be like, oh, I can't share, my illness with my kid, why not? Your kid is smart enough to understand and learn and know. And when I tell y'all, Micah learned about my illnesses when she was probably about 5 or 6. And she's about to be 14 in June. So she's had 8 years to understand, learn, master, and know what needs to be done. Don't be afraid to share with your children. In the end, they're probably going to be the ones there with you. When we had that car accident, Micah was as calm as could be. Not a tear was in her eye. But she knew she could pull out her cell phone, call her father, call her grandfather, and call emergency. The rest was already done. I was then taken to the hospital. I was in the hospital for quite some time, and I was home. But she knew to tell the officer when he pulled up on the scene. My mother has epilepsy, lupus, and diabetes. She had a seizure behind the wheel. I'm okay. But I want my story to motivate someone to realize that you got to be your own advocate first. If you have to do your research, what you need to do. You know, I decided, especially with living with multiple illnesses and autoimmune illnesses, that I have to take care of myself from the inside out. And that means what foods I'm eating. There are foods considered anti-inflammatory foods that will help individuals with autoimmune illnesses keep the flares down. Now, I'm in the midst of doing a lot right now. So my body is stressed alone. Not just what I'm eating, but just stressed because I'm going through a lot. A change is coming for my life. It's a positive change, but it still stresses me out. And so we have to know when to sit. And today was one of those days that I was just so exhausted that I couldn't do anything but just rest today. Yes, it's raining, so the rain also has a lot to do with it. But I had to sit back. I could not do my schoolwork for my level 2 nutrition coaching program to become a nationally board certified master health coach. I couldn't do my work today. I had to sit down. And I had to just relax. And when I go back home, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down again. And I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just take this time because my body is fighting itself. It is telling me, take your rest. No need to try to work out. No need to try to do the classwork. No need, just rest. As a single mother, there's a lot on our plates. And I know quite a few single mothers that feel like they have to do everything. No, we don't. We have kids. If we have kids that are of age that can cook, that can take care of things, then so be it. Let it be done. So, I say to everybody, take this time to get to know yourself. Understand yourself. Understand what you have going on. And just find that time that you could just sit and listen versus doing all the time. With that being said, it's your girl Jamie saying thank you for sharing in this journey with me, and I'll see you all soon.